Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being a part of this 2-day intensive on wholesaling. The final segment of everything is an all Q&A segment. So pretty much any questions, anything you have, online, in person, throw them up there. It can be about anything about wholesaling. Thank you, Quest, for letting us be here.
That's for me.
Oh, okay.
Oops. You want one?
She's joking. I'm gonna look like we're getting friendly.
Oh, thank you. I'll make the commentary interesting. Yes, sir. So, for those
question
that don't
right here.
know, I'm an avid Rubik's Cuber. I can solve anything from a 1x1, which is actually fairly simple, all the way up to about a 7x7, and then I can solve a 12-sided doctahedron. So I like Rubik's cubes.
He's a little mad scientist.
Uh-oh, I feel like somebody knows algorithms. I'm starting to see a pattern develop here. Ruh-roh. Yep, somebody knows how to solve it. Awesome, so let's move forward in this. We had a question coming in from El Interneto. Nope, all right, what's up?
Sorry, mine is more towards a life-related question than deals and all those things. I mean, I do value a lot of the information that you guys are giving, and I don't, doubt that this is the best group out there in the whole country.
Thank you.
I have traveled, actually, different countries also, and so I can vouch that compared to a few other countries, you guys are still the best.
Thank you.
So, question is, like, I'm a single parent with 2 teenagers. I have done several other entrepreneurial stuff and all that, where struggled with time and all that with the kids, and come to a point where I went down to the level where, like, I'm missing their growing up, and heck with the business, and I jumped right in 100% with the kids, where like I had like 3 hours to 5 hours left of the day to work. And then now I'm realizing, wait, did I make a mistake? Now that they're teenagers, I need to get back in the thing. Momentum is down. But then in the back of my mind, I still have the fear that this is the time where they still need somebody present. They can get sidetracked. How do you all balance all that?
So I'm going to start with that one. And there's a book that I read called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And one of the things that I've struggled with immensely within my life is balance. I've always been extremely unbalanced. And when you look at life, you kind of have a wheel with multiple spokes. You have a financial, a spiritual, a social, a blah, blah, blah. There's like 6 or 7 spokes on that wheel. And if any one of those are out of balance, you get a really loppy, bumpy road. I was always focused heavily on the finances. So the finances was really taken off, but everything else fell behind. The spiritual, the social, the family, all of that started taking a hit, and it always weighed heavy on me. And then I read that book, The One Thing, and one of the things that Gary Keller said in that book was, greatness is never achieved in balance. He said, to achieve greatness, you must go deep in the red. He put out a pendulum. He's like, the pendulum will swing. Right in the middle is balance. There is no such thing as balance in life. It is always a moving pendulum. How far that pendulum swings to one side is how deep in the red you're going. And he's like, if you want to achieve greatness, you must go into the red and you will lose balance. But to survive, you must find your way out of the red and swing back to the other side, even if it's momentarily, but long enough to catch a breath and then go back. And it's a constant swing. And the greater the balance, the greater the success, not the success, but the greater the greatness is that you're trying to achieve, the further into that red you're going to have to go, the longer you'll have to stay. But the equal and opposite is also true. You're going to have to come out to survive. I never understood coming out. Like, I went 20 years straight in the red. So you have to understand that, you know what, if you do have children at home and you do want greatness at the same time, you're gonna have to put it on a scale. And like, is what I'm trying to achieve over here for my children, is that what's going to happen there? Or is what am I trying to achieve over here for me? And if what I'm trying to achieve over here is what I truly want, then I need to accept that and not let myself get beat up about the fact that I am not spending as much time with my kids. And I'm not giving advice in either direction. I'm just throwing that out there. So from that standpoint, you're gonna have to decide, okay, if I do wanna go this direction, here are the non-negotiables. If I do go this direction and I go this deep in the red, every single Sunday, no matter what, is a no work day. It is non-negotiable. Sundays are the day off. And it's not just a day off for you to recoup. It's a day off to spend with what you're missing. Whether that's spiritual, whether that's family, whether that's, whatever else is supposed to be a part of that wheel, whatever piece is missing, that's what has to be filled in on that Sunday. So develop non-negotiables. So when you do swing back out of it, you're not just swinging back out of it and not accomplishing what else needs to be accomplished. Mike, you're not brave enough to go for it.
I'm brave enough to go for it. I think that another key component, adding to kind of what Daniel said, I think for me at least, I've found that I have to be feeding every area. I'm a really oddly versatile person. I have to be feeding every area of my life. Like I have to spend time on those different areas that I had mentioned earlier. And it doesn't matter if it's like 10 minutes. Like if I spend 10 minutes feeding a relationship that's important to me, that's going to be way better if I have that time. So I think that time management, learning how to do your time management and making those non-negotiables, however that works for you, whether it's writing it down in a planner and saying, for this hour on this day, I'm going to turn my phone off and watch a movie with my kids, or whatever it might be that means to you, making sure that you hit all 4 of those areas, even if it's for 10 minutes and every day. Just be intentional about feeding that part of yourself, and I feel like you'll feel less of that like anxiety around like, I didn't have a whole lot of time to spend with my kids this day. I didn't have a whole lot of time to move my body today, but I made sure I at least did a 20-minute quick jog or whatever that is for you. Just making, because you can find 10 minutes to do anything. You can find 20 minutes to do anything, and finding that will help you to be better focused when you are in your, in your red zone or whatever you want to call it. So that's what I would say. I've been really big lately, like a crazy person, to where he rolls his eyes at me about making sure that I'm teaching everybody on our team to own their time and be intentional with their time blocking. So I would say that's the how. Obviously, like I think more like the operation of it, like the how you do it. Like knowing you have to do it is one thing, but the how you do it is the part where you're taking the action. That's where you're actually solving the issue. So
I would say read Sean Whalen's book, Make Shit Happen.
How to make shit happen.
How to make shit happen. Something like that. It literally talks about this. Talks about he calls it the core 4, breaks it down. I'm actually annoyed with people calling it such a simple book because I read it in I read it less than an hour, right? So it's not long, but it's very impactful. It spoke to me, so I think it would help you in this regard.
What's the name of the author?
Sean Whalen.
I was just gonna say though, just being an entrepreneur, just in general, it's gonna always be some type of work-life balance scenario that you're always facing. At the end of the day, so on to them, I agree with everything that they said. Absolutely. Those are great steps, but you're still gonna always kind of have something that you're working on that you just kind of like, as Daniel said, where you're kind of leaning one way really heavily in one area, and one way, you're not leaning as much. It's just about being intentional about what you're doing, just kind of prioritizing your day. At least that's what kind of works for Marsha and I. And then when you feel like, for us, when I get to a point to where I feel like I'm kind of neglecting this area a little bit too much in my life, that's when I'll say, okay, let me go ahead and kind of reprioritize some things right now for this day or for the next couple days, just so I can kind of get back on my kilter a little bit and just kind of move forward from there.
Now, you said you were a single parent? I think you're succeeding far more than you think already. Now, it's hard for me to kind of say, hey, well, as a single parent, yada, yada. I think Jay is probably the same with Marsha and myself. This is a hard thing to do. But I think you being a single parent, you're saying going from country to country, and you're here on Propelio, you've been here yesterday, all day today, you're putting your sacrifice, you're putting in the hustle. I think you're far more ahead than you are, in my opinion. Now, myself, I'm addicted to the hustle. I like to work all the time. My routine is usually, and Daniel can attest because he's been to San Antonio quite a few times, my routine is usually 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Now, what helps me is my wife puts me in check. Right? Hey, got to come home, the kids, whatever the case may be. Sundays, I don't work whatsoever. Unless it's a really good wholesale deal, it's going to make you a lot of good money. And then,
Whatsoever with a clause.
Go to the closet, and that's so my wife don't see me. But nonetheless, how old do you say you got the teenagers? How old are they?
13 and 16.
13 and 16 now. This is me thinking outside the box, not as a single parent. My wife holds me accountable. Maybe you should, I don't know if you're open to it, have your kids keep you accountable of the lifestyle. Mom this, mom that, don't forget about this, as my wife does, and that's what works for me.
Yeah, here's our time. This is our time, Mom. Put your phone away.
Right.
My time, Mom. If you tell them hey, this is what we're doing when we're doing, y'all get ready for it. You being intentional with me, it's that could also help.
Something that might be able to create activity between y'all, and people will agree or disagree with this. I have had both luck and no luck with working with my family. So like if maybe your kids could help you with some of the driving for dollars, maybe you'll all just hop in the van together and go drive through neighborhoods and make it a game. Like I heard somebody in here saying the other day that they made a game out of it. Like let's play
Date night.
Date night.
See, there you go, date night. Like maybe y'all can all go out and drive for dollars together or something like that. Go out and look at houses together, and if nothing else, you're teaching them a trade.
Down in San Antonio, David Fisher. Yeah. He buys houses with his son, Odin. How do I know his name? Because he's out there buying houses, doing Facebook Lives with Odin. Like, hey, we're out here buying another house,
And imagine how that kid's life's going to be different. Like he, from a very young age, is exposed to transacting multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars of deals as a regular thing. How comfortable would this kid be going out into the world and saying, I'm going to go out and contract a property?
So this kid, that could probably help out, like Bates said, this dude is 13 years old. He would do these walkthrough videos but of course from David. But I was watching his videos, and David Fisher's down there, and he's a pretty big wig. And those videos that kid is putting out, man, you gotta see it up here. You gotta see it up here. He's really pushing out for a 13-year-old. That's really good.
Awesome. Next question.
From the internet, what are your top 3 prospecting methods to find deals?
Top 3 prospecting methods to find a deal.
So for me, I guess I'll just pass the mic this way. So for me, I would say cold calling is one. I absolutely love cold calling. So cold calling is one. JV deals is another one. And text blast leads.
So for the prospecting, like I said, with the team that we have, the best prospect for us is cold calling. Right? We have what we call a boiler room in our office. The boiler room has the 5 individuals, and then with the 10 VAs. That's for whatever reason, our main bread and butter. Myself personally, as you're building a team, you take things to the next level. So myself is making sure that the wheels are in place, the machine's moving freely. But the cold calling for sure. Typically, the office makes 17,000 calls a day to include the VAs and to include the office. Of course, you have systems and dialer tools to help you with that kind of stuff. For example, call tools or whatever the case may be. But for sure, as myself is making sure the office is running with the cold calling. The second step is, like Jay said, the SMS blast when we're sending out thousands of text messages at once to same leads. And then the third thing is me being a broker. Every single realtor I talk to, I always fawn on the subject to deals. So whenever I see a realtor, hey, what do you do with those listings that someone come up to you and say, hey, my balance on the house is 200, the ARV or the comps is 220, 225, most realtors will pass on and say, hey, make it as a rental or whatever the case may be. If the realtor's a little savvy, they may educate the seller on a wraparound. But every single realtor I talk to, I always do that, and that's how we get a lot of our sub-2 deals is from active realtors.
Awesome. So on this side, I am not an active real estate investor. I'm not out there marketing deals. I'm not out there pursuing stuff on that side. Remember earlier I said my goal was never to be the business wholesaler. I've kind of moved up to the next level in not next level, I've just pivoted to a spot where I like things better. All that to be said, if I had to jump back into this game right now, I'm getting feedback from one of the mics. But with that to be said, if I am going to jump back in, I would lean heavily on network marketing. That is where I would probably come in and I would go to every REIA in town. I'd meet everybody in town and I'd talk to every single one of them and I'd say, you're a new wholesaler? I'll JV with you. You're what? You're an advanced wholesaler? I'll buy deals from you. You're a flipper? I'll wholesale you a deal. You're a landlord? I'll find you a deal. And I would just network market the entire room, and that is where I'd probably focus most of my initial time out.
Yeah, so I've had the honor of interviewing people from across the country, some of the best investors. There's a couple of things that I've seen from people that do volume. Direct mail is number one. It's the king. The reason why people are now leaning more towards SMS and cold calling is because it's more affordable. Also understand that it's very data centric and it's going to cost a lot of money to have that amount of data, which is why a lot of the people that do high volume are still doing direct mail, even though it's more expensive. They see the majority of their volume coming from that. But the funny story about that is when I go into groups like Next Level Flipping and I ask people, I did this post once, I said, tell me where your last deal came from. Almost 75% of those deals did not come from a form of marketing, like Daniel said. It came from word of mouth, a referral, somebody knowing them, brought them the deal. So putting yourself out there, letting everybody know what you're doing, and being open and accessible to that, that's going to probably bring you, well, because there's no cost associated with it, some of the most profitable deals.
I would say that, and I would say I second everything everybody said, but for our business specifically, it's different for every market. And since this question came from online, and I don't know where they're asking it from, it's gonna vary. Some of our markets, it's like super easy to not have to do anything, but here we were heavy on the texting side. I really believe in driving for dollars. It depends on where you're at in your business and what you can handle. So I always like to say the best thing that you can do in marketing is what specifically fits your manpower and your budget. At the end of the day, whatever you're consistent with is what's going to work. And that's in any market.
Bravo.
You can split test different forms of marketing, but you're probably not going to get good data if you're split testing it. So getting local and getting in that network marketing is probably the thing that works best everywhere.
We got a question coming in from the internet.
Yeah, Mark B, he works in an oil field 3 weeks out of the month. Any advice on doing deals? And I think he clarifies later that his 3 weeks are away from where his primary residence is.
D for a week, and then follow up for the next 3, and then cold call and everything else in between. Like, I don't really think that it really should hinder you in how you operate. I mean, if you're remote for 3 weeks out of there, D for D in your remote location. I don't know if you have homes around there, but you could work that market. You work your home market. You can D for D anywhere. Build your list, market to them, call to them while you're out. I mean, it's not really any different just because you're not home. That's my opinion.
If you're doing cold calling, how many should a one-person shop calls should they be doing a day?
Well, I think that differs. So like for us, so for our cold calling VA, I'll probably say, well, we have 2 of them, but I would say, I want to say she's probably doing about 700 to 800 a day. About 700 to 800 a day, I would say.
I would break it down per hour. I think that it depends on your dialer, how many lines you're dialing on. how many connections you make, what your data is. I think a good target should be 300 per dialer per hour. You're not going to come out of the gates doing that, though. When you say, Jay?
Yeah, I think that's about right. Because we use a triple line dialer, so I mean, through Mojo. So yeah, that's probably yeah.
We use a 10-line dialer, so that would make a big difference.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't heard of the dialer gives you, it's an on software platform that allows you to make multiple calls at one time, whether you're using Mojo or you guys are using
Call tools.
We use call tools as well. Call tools, each line allows you to make 10 calls at a time when it's outbound. If it's just a one-man show, like Brian said, yesterday Daniel was talking about scheduling your day. I think something that takes an effect on what you're doing. Something on those lines said that person who asked that question on YouTube is schedule your day. I don't know how many calls you want to make per day. I think schedule your day throughout accordingly and make sure you fulfill, whether it's 2 hours or 3 hours, fulfill the 2 or 3 hours, and however many calls you get, and move on to the next subject. But out of those calls that you're making, like you say, it's making 500 calls a day or whatever the case may be. If a dialer's calling 300-400 at a time, you may only talk to 100 people or so. So if you want to have a case or a number, my goal today is to talk to 100 people, and that makes sense for you.
I don't have the ability to give direct feedback on this, but I would give feedback on the state of measure it and run a KPI to it. So like if you are making 500 calls a day, okay, that is your capacity. That's what you need to set your benchmark at, and that becomes your new standard and says every single day 500 calls need to be made, and then start measuring if 500 calls are made, how many contacts are made, how many contacts to an appointment, how many appointments to a lead, and continue building down your KPIs so that way you know what they are when you start hiring somebody.
Exactly.
Let's get a mic over here, please.
Right.
Okay, Mike.
Question
Okay.
right here. This question is for the entire panel. Who would you all consider the authority or the folks who are knowledgeable about multi-family units, apartments, commercial? You talked about in-game a lot, right? So I don't know if everybody's for their life want to chase a wholesale check. That's not going to be me. But as far as what are the requirements as far as capital in order to enter that space?
So I've had the honor to interview two of them, and I think they're both at the top of their game right now, and they both do it two completely different ways. That's Tim Bratz. I have an interview with him on Propelio TV. It was quite possibly one of the greatest interviews that I've been a part of, because I didn't say anything the whole time. I literally just sat there and listened to the man blow my mind. And then Corey Peterson. So Tim Bratz is in Cleveland, Ohio. Corey Peterson is in Phoenix, Arizona. They both have education platforms that I would highly recommend if that's something that you're wanting to get into, because these gentlemen have completely changed not only their lives, but their partners' lives on their deals, and they're willing to do deals with other people.
They're accessible.
They're willing. Like if you went and found a multifamily deal that was good, and you brought it to Tim Bratz, he's going to bring you on as a small equity partner for being the wholesaler on that deal.
It's a good way to learn and get your foot in the door, and they're accessible. I mean, like obviously there's a lot of places you could go for that. I mean, Grant Cardone does a lot on a lot of apartments, but he's maybe not as accessible as Tim and Corey are. And I think that if you're trying to go into that space, they're really good people to follow and reach out to.
If we're talking about a multifamily, we're talking about true apartments, 100 units, 150 units. Yeah, I'm thinking, everyone has whoever they want to use or whatever the case may be has a good program. You guys have someone here local. A gentleman's name is Brad Sumrock. Brad Sumrock, he has in my opinion, a really good foundation. He has a good ecosystem on syndication. So we're actually part of the Sumrock, and we did a syndication as a passive investor. And one of the passive investors is here, and it really breaks down the foundation on passive investing versus actual being a sponsor, becoming a syndication yourself, and that's the goal as a multifamily investor or someone who's coming to the next level to actually sponsor a syndication where we can all buy a $1.52 million deal with not being my money, but we come together and do a syndication, and we're all accredited investors or sophisticated investors. We can all have a slice of pie of this 150 units, 200 units, whether you have the extreme knowledge or not. But I think Brad Swamrock it'd be a good starting point.
Yeah, I interviewed him too, and I feel bad now that I forgot about that. I've never met him in face to face though. I've met the other two guys face to face, but I would say
You've also got Think Multifamily with Mark Kinney and his wife Tamil. You've also got Lifestyles Unlimited. You've also got, Think Multifamily actually did a full course in the Propelio Academy. Like, if you want to start getting your foot in the door, at least go learn the lingo there, because they're going to start talking about stuff like that. And one of the things you're talking about is like going up to the next level. I believe that is a wise thing to do. Will Crozier was my mentor and has been my mentor for a long time, and he always said, add another zero to your deal, and if you don't, you'll always be chasing the same deal. And one of the things that I would say right now is consider the market cycles, and everything I'm hearing across the board on the multifamily side is the cap rates are just going lower and lower and lower. And if you start following Grant Cardone's always talking about like I buy in the Sun Belt. Well, like he's starting to break his own rules to start get deals done. So like it's just what I'm saying. It's like pay attention to your market cycle. Pay attention to your market cycle.
On the cold calling, I want to circle back on that. What kind of conversion rates are y'all seeing?
As far as like how many calls per deal, I think it's on TV. We don't do as heavy cold calling here, which I'm assuming you're like looking for that. I would say you're gonna want to look at least. You're gonna want to look. You're gonna be able to. You're gonna want if you have one caller and you're making 300 calls an hour. You're gonna probably want to have a solid appointment locked up every other day. And then how you convert from there is going to be really just dependent on you at the appointment.
So I'll share from my experience. Like I said, we had that boiler room where we're cold calling. One of the individuals there, his name is Clint. We call him Contract Clint because he's always on the phones. I mean, he has a schedule to the T. He is what we consider a warhorse now. He is probably, what is it? I don't know. He's on YouTube. He's probably twice my age. But his deal is he comes in and I ask him, man, what's the hustle? Why do you always come in? Because I don't have the time. So that alone was like, man. So this dude, he is, when I said earlier when Ryan asked the question, how many calls do I make? His goal for himself is to make 100 contacts. Right? So that 100 contacts usually takes him the whole day. Because when he's calling the whole day, he makes 300 to 400 calls. But when you're actually talking to someone, whether they cuss you out or not now, whatever the case is, he makes sure he reaches the 100 mark. Out of that 100 mark, he probably gets, I would say, because he comes to my office asking for comps, whatever the case may be, he probably gets what we call opportunities. Out of those opportunities, he probably gets about 8 a day, 8 or 9 a day. When he gets those 8 or 9 a day, that doesn't make sense because sometimes ARV is 100 and, I want 110. Or whatever the case, something crazy, so you weed out those. But out of the, in my opinion, my experience with us down in San Antonio, 1 out of every 100 will actually go to the property and make a cash offer. Now, whether they accept the cash offer or not, it may not happen. But for a somewhat slight KPI, it's for 1 out of every 100 where we actually show up to the property, or if it's a deal in Corpus or El Paso, we'll make a cash offer, and then we'll go back and forth. And if they're too high or we're too low, it doesn't make sense. But I would say for us, anyways, 1 out of every 100 true contacts talking to someone on the phone.
So like an appointment a day for one person? Yeah. Appointment a day.
That sounds about right, too. That sounds about right.
All right. Any other questions online?
Yeah, in terms of time blocking, if you're just starting out, what should your daily schedule look like?
Yesterday. So on that, like if you're just starting out, you need to start with the consumption of knowledge, and then it needs to move to the application of knowledge, and that's going to start with data mining, figuring out how to create opportunities, and then focusing all of your time around creating those opportunities. I would time block out, marketing. I would time block out, pretty much everything we talked about yesterday.
What, if at all, what percentage of your deals come through on market through real estate agents for wholesaling, not fix and flip?
Very small. I mean, it's just going to be very hard to dispo it. I'm gonna send it to Daniel, and Daniel's gonna say, what value are you bringing me? This is just on the market. So from a business perspective, you have to sit there and think about what value you're adding to your customer, and if you're buying things off the MLS and then promoting it to your buyers, it's going to turn off more buyers than it's going to seem like you're adding value.
The markets change. Like back in 2009, 10, and 11, there was a lot of outfits wholesaling off the MLS. It was a different climate back then. But to add to that, remember that story I was telling you about the house I threw up for like 99 and ended up selling it for 105 when I didn't think it was worth a dime more than like 60? You made an offer on it.
I did?
It was strange.
Well, it's kind of, I wasn't sure if you meant like you get your deals from real estate agents before they hit the market. Is that how they meant that, Ryan?
We're right off the MLS.
Or off the MLS. Okay, so the way that I actually heard that question, because I am an agent, so people call me all the time, like send me your pocket deals, right? I guess to answer that question, because the MLS is the MLS, right? You can go in there and look at a property and analyze it based off of the fact that it's listed. But as far as trying to get pocket deals from agents in any market, I would just make sure not all agents are savvy to the investing side of the world. It is a very different world. It took a long time for me to get used to being an agent because I was not an agent going into this. So if you're targeting agents to try to get leads that aren't super, time consuming or expensive to get, that's creating a relationship and networking piece and making sure that they understand your goals.
All right. Did you sell me the property?
No, but I just
He bought the property and wholesaled it, right?
I bought it and I wholesaled it, and for a period of about a year, anything that I was putting on the MLS, within 5 minutes, I was getting an offer out of titanium in some form or fashion. And I was like, they must have some sort of automated system going on over there.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
But when it comes to the agents, I mean, there's twofold, like they're saying, with its pocket deals or actually on MLS. Going back to my initial question, when we said every single realtor, I always ask for the no equity deals. Now, some of the deals that we get are actually some from the MLS. Every so often, one of our guys or even myself, if there's really much downtime, we'll throw in crazy offers and the realtors accept it. And they'll accept it. One of the ones that we did, it was actually a property that we flipped. The list price was 100. Our cash offer was, of course, sight unseen because it got thrown out, was 60 grand and it was listed on the market. And the realtor calls me back, hey, can you do 65? And I'm thinking to myself, man, this property is listed for 100, but they wouldn't accept 65. That's the first thing. The second thing is we also do, data mining, how you want to look at it, is we'll go and look at properties on MLS built in 2017 and up, knowing they just bought the house 2 years ago. We call the agent and say, hey, try to make conversation and see if that seller's open to doing a subject to deal. Usually the seller wants to do it. As soon as the first thing I say is, hey, my name is Mike, I'm a broker, yada, yada. I see you're listing on 123 Main Street. Hey, I have a solution for you that can pay your commission. As soon as you tell the realtor they can pay their commission, they're all ears. They want to know, how can you pay my commission? Because I know I'm having a hard time with the 2017 built that they're still building houses in the subdivision. So that's how we do on-market deals.
I just want to see if we can take it back. I want to see how y'all felt whenever y'all closed, or if y'all remember y'all's first deal, like what that excitement was. And I know everybody's goal is different. As far as, did y'all have a monetary value in mind as whenever y'all were deciding that y'all were going to jump into it full time? Did y'all have something as far as we're going to close this many deals a month before it's okay, I'm going to leave corporate America or whatever y'all were doing and jump into it full time?
Wow. So that's a great question, man. So I think that is personal preference. I mean, a lot of people will say, hey, make sure that you have it. If you're thinking about going and wholesaling and doing it full time, make sure you have at least, if that's all you're going to do and you're not going to have a job like just all wholesaling, a lot of people say, hey, try to have at least 6 months to a year of savings saved up. So that way you're not just kind of like facing that month-to-month struggle and it's like, oh God, what am I going to do? You know, how am I going to eat? Do all of this type of stuff. So a lot of people say 6 months to 12 months. I kind of jumped up. For me personally, I kind of jumped out there aggressively. Just because I learned that way. I have to have my back against the wall or whatever, just so I kind of come back swinging. That's just my personality. But for me, I would say, I would recommend starting out doing it part-time first, just to make sure it's something that you're comfortable with doing. You know, you understand the process. You can see yourself doing it long term. But when you're ready to make that jump, if you can, I would say 6 months to 12 months of savings, personally. But it's a personal choice.
How do you feel when you close that first?
So the first deal was wonderful. Our first deal was 10 grand. We actually got it from a pay-per-click. It was a deal that we had. It was actually in Ennis, Texas. So it was basically like a landlord. He was in the process of flipping the house, and I guess he realized it was a lot harder than how HGTV makes it look. And he was like, we did PPC. He clicked our ad, called us, said, hey man, I got a property I'm looking to sell. Give me $65K, it's yours. We didn't know anything. We went out there with a one-page contract. He held the one-page contract up and flicked it in the air and said, this is going to sell this property? Like, really? This is going to do everything? And he said, I'll let you know. Let me think about it. I'll let you know. And, Marsh and I, we just kind of ran off the property or whatever, like, oh, God, what's going to happen? And then the next day he called us. He said, hey, you know what? You give me 65, I'll take it. So we contracted it for 60. And he knew we were wholesaling and everything. And we contracted at 65, found a buyer like within 4 days for 75. And made 10 grand on our first deal.
I can imagine the look on your face when you got off that phone call with that 75K buyer. You're like, yes! This is real!
So that's a good question. This, I always feel some type of way to answer this question, because if someone's going from corporate America to full-blown wholesaling, it's a big jump, and I totally understand. And
it's a totally different mindset.
It's a totally different mindset. When you have an office of 22 and you have those 22 different personalities, we say certain things. Now, myself personally, like I said yesterday, I did 12 years in the Army. And the last 4 of the 12 is when I started doing real estate. So I was doing real estate, so I had the luxury. And then to top it off, I was stationed at Fort Sam Houston, which is in San Antonio. So I got PCS to Fort Sam Houston. I bought a house, right? So that got taken care of. That's when I first got into real estate. I was in the Army, so I had salary money. So I had time to learn. So when I transitioned, it wasn't as difficult for me. And then when we started off, we started flipping. But my first wholesale was like, man, we had 7 flips at a time. We got this 8th deal. That's when I looked into wholesaling. That one wholesale deal, the first one I think made 8 grand. I was like, man, we made 8 grand so quick and so fast. But for someone to do that jump, I get this question asked a lot. And my man Frank Tovar's in the back, and he was in the same position a while back, and he was in a position where he had a 6-figure job. And I personally told him, hey man, don't quit your job. And 2 weeks later, he told me, hey, I quit my job. After I personally told him not to do it. And we got young cats in the office that come in all the time because they have the hunger mentality. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, doing this deal, that's hard to do. It's not hard. It's hard to make that sacrifice. But if you think, me as a broker or whoever's a broker, someone who's going to list a property, right? If you think about this, if someone as a realtor was to list $1 million property, all the hard work it gets to take $1 million lead, put it on the market, deal with the $1 million clientele, do all the full-blown work, the pictures, the open house, whatever the case may be. That one deal for that realtor, if it's a 3% deal, that's a $30,000 commission. We close deals all the time. Wholesales is past 30, 40. That takes 10 days, 20 days, 2-3 weeks. So that mindset is definitely there if someone has the hunger to do it.
So how I felt, that GIF where Hulk is like just shredding himself. That's how I felt. So I'll tell the story about our first deal to prove that nobody has all the answers, right? I just said, you can't get deals off the MLS and wholesale them. So our first deal, we got off the MLS because I sat in a room that, the guy that didn't know what he was talking about in his tight leather pants and probably had done about 10 deals in his lifetime said, yeah, you go on the MLS, you make a bunch of offers. That's why I offered on a bunch of Daniel's properties back in the day.
It was easier to do on the MLS back then.
So we offered on it. I think he was asking $100,000. I offered $92,000. They accepted it. Guru told me I put it on Craigslist, so I put it on Craigslist. Guy called me. He said, hey, I'm at your house. I want to see it. We were in Vegas. I freaked out because he's like, I'm at the house, and I know it's on the MLS, and so I know I have to call my realtor to get him in. And he's like, don't worry about it. The back window's open. I'm crawling through now.
And he's like, I don't think they're supposed to do that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think this is how this is supposed to go down. And so I'm on the phone with him as he's walking around, and he's like, man, you know, this thing's a piece of shit, but I love this neighborhood. And he's like, okay, I'll take it. And so that's how we did our first deal. And so I thought it was that easy, you know, across the board. I don't think we've sold another house on Craigslist since then. But we made $7,000 on that. I double closed it. I didn't assign it. I was told that I had to get transactional funding. I called Dana Draper, who was the escrow officer, and she was like, you don't need transactional funding. We'll just do a pass-through of the funds. So literally for the next 2 weeks, every single day I called her and said, hey, this is RJ Bates. I'm the guy that's selling a house, but I'm also buying it apparently on the same day. Are you sure I don't have to show up with $92,000? Because I don't want to show up and look like a jackass, because I have this company that only charged me 1% to do it. And she was like, no. And so I still use Dana to this day.
God bless that woman. She's helped us.
And we closed that deal. And my question to you about how long it should take before you made that decision is, are you an entrepreneur? You are an entrepreneur? Like,
Now.
Are you an entrepreneur?
Me, mentally, yes.
Okay, then I have a very unpopular opinion about this. Why wait? What are you waiting on? It ain't ever gonna be perfect. The timing's never gonna be right. Like, you already have your job. You're already making your money. What are you waiting on? So you can go prove the concept? Haven't we already proved the concept for you? If it's right for you, you know this. I knew this is what I was supposed to do. So when I went to her apartment and said, we're doing this, she looked at me like I was batshit crazy.
We were already entrepreneurs. We had a functioning business that paid we weren't like by any stretch of the imagination getting wealthy off of it anytime soon, but we had a functioning business that swayed just like a corporate.
We shut it down.
And I was like, all right, we're jumping off this cliff.
Yeah, but I mean, I knew this is what I was supposed to do. Like, I walked up to the guy in the leather pants. He told me his greatest student was Matt Larson. I don't know if it's the Matt Larson that's actually good or if it's another Matt Larson. But I walked up to him and I said, I'm going to be your greatest student. I will destroy anybody else that you've ever coached. And I still to this day have that chip on my shoulder. I'm going to go find that leather pants son of a bitch, and I'm going to be like, I told you. I told you. He told me he owns a house on Camelback Mountain in Phoenix, and every time I go to Phoenix, I'm like, I'm going to own a house on Camelback Mountain. I'm going to find which one he owns. I'm going to buy it from him. So when you have that mentality, you just go do it, dude. Ain't nobody going to stop you if you have that mindset.
So I also would say, like RJ said, a lot of people look at that and like that's not a popular opinion. Like that's gonna be like I would never want him to do it any other way. Thank God I have this man, because I would have sat there and analyzed the shit out of this for years before I was like, okay, let's shut down our other business. And so I do think that there is a comfortability factor. So to like add to what RJ said, if that's not you, because that wasn't me. Either figure out the chunk that you have to prove to yourself and then do that, if that makes sense. You want to be financially smart. You want to be financially safe. Whatever you have to prove to yourself, if you've never done a deal and you need to prove 5 deals, then have that 5 deals be your mark. If you're not the kind of person, I'm the kind of person. I was raised by a man who would have told me to have 3 years of savings in the bank before I went and did something crazy and jumped off a cliff. It just depends on what your setup is and what you're capable of. If you know you're capable of it, like he said, there's no better time than now.
If I told you right now, you have to go buy a house this week and wholesale it,
To survive.
or you die, are you going to do it? There ain't nothing going to stop you, right? So when you wake up with that mindset every day and you say, I am not going to let myself down, much less the people around me.
That works for us. You got to stay hungry.
Let's call that job up and quit it right now. Let's do it.
So on my side, a common denominator that I found across most people that I have found that were super successful in this business is they put their back against the wall.
That's right.
And if you're willing to put your back against the wall, then you've already got a why. And the biggest thing I've always said is that your why has to be larger than your fear. And somebody that's willing to put their back against the wall, like F this, I'm just going to shut down my business and I'm going to do it. They already have the mindset of I'm going to win, and that mindset is incredibly important. So to go through and like you asked, what did I feel like after I did my first deal? Are you talking about my first real estate deal or my first wholesale deal? Because I started differently. I started flipping and then I went to wholesales. My first wholesale deal was like, why in the hell am I flipping? like I learned about wholesaling, and it was luck for me. I really can't say anything more than luck, but I was like, somebody kept introducing me to wholesaling, and they're like, you need to wholesale. I've been flipping for about 4 years, and then within about a week and a half to 2 weeks, I'd made about 22 grand wholesaling, and I did 2 contracts, and I'm not going to say that like the 22 grand wasn't important, but by that time I'd already been flipping long enough that 22 grand was just 22 grand. But at that point in time, it was like, I just did 22 grand in like a week and a half. I had no liability. I had no contractors to deal with. Why in the hell am I flipping? And one of them was, it was just 2 contracts in 2 weeks, and it was a phenomenal feeling. So yeah, on that one. And then my very first deal was like a 97K profit off of a flip. But I did that deal completely weird. Now that was a life changer for me, because at that point in time, I never had more than like $800 in my account. And more often than not, that was just because I got my tax return, and then it went right back to negative. So that was a life changer for me.
And also remember, like, you have something that nobody else has in the we, not me. Like not nobody else has. We didn't have this. If you, like, when you make that decision, when that's right for you, whatever it is, like, don't lose your house, don't lose your car, don't not feed your kids, whatever. But if you can do it, like, there is no better time than now. However, you also, like, when you fall, when you stumble, when you're like, oh, I didn't even think to do that, you have so many resources. So let that also be like a little bit of a whoopee. That's what I call it.
Okay. My question is 2 parts to it. But let's say for the main part is when you get that first deal done, whether it's $5,000, $10,000, how would you recommend a person segment their funds, whether it's investing back in the business, putting some aside for taxes? So that's one of those things that I've seen it kill. I have a business, but I have friends with business owners, and they refuse to start another business because they felt that they got screwed by Uncle Sam, and they got hit with this big tax bill, and they fell out. They just didn't know how to reinvest in the business properly. So for someone new, what would you recommend that they do as far as reinvesting in the business strategically?
I would, on my side, take care of any immediate cash needs I have, like bills that are due, and then 100% of the rest of it just remains in the business. It doesn't get spent back out. I know a lot of people say reward yourself, but if it's $5,000 and you just spent $2,000 of it to catch yourself back up, the next $3,000 needs to stay in the account to keep your operations going. I would keep myself to a point where I had at least 5 or 6 months of finances in the account at all times, because I know for me starting out, my wholesaling, remember I talked about gaps of income, was because like there would be 3 or 4 months that would go by where I was for whatever reason unable to perform, and it was stressful, and having the reserves in the account was important to me.
One of the things I also would say that a lot of people make the mistake of, whether they're getting into wholesaling, flipping, whatever, is like set your like reverse engineer. We're really big on reverse engineering, like everything. If you are knowing, what you personally, if you're a one-man show, you know what you personally need to make, like that needs to be like a small percentage, a small number in comparison. So pay yourself a salary, and then set yourself like a marketing budget that's going to look different for however you're marketing. You don't, and the rest of it goes in the bank. And how you dedicate those funds is going to be unique to your business. but make sure you don't do what a lot of people do, which is just like, oh, I made $5,000. You didn't make $5,000. I heard somebody say it really well. I can't remember who, but they said, I think it was Carlos Reyes had told somebody, you just stole from your company. You know, pay yourself. Make sure you know what you need to make and don't negotiate on that. That's what I need to make.
Would you consider Daniel a mentor?
Absolutely.
Would you consider Gary Harper a mentor?
Oh yeah.
Gary Harper goes by the Profit First book, so read that, and I think that breaks it down pretty much for everybody right there on what you're concerned about. If you read Profit First, you'll be
I need
just
to
fine.
read that. I've never heard of it. I'll have to read that one.
I mean, there's a lot of variables on that one, right? There's a lot of variables on if you're making the 5,000. I mean, how are you financially now? You're just starting off, and your finances aren't where they need to be. I'm not a full fan of this, but for some of the guys who are fans of Dave Ramsey, he has his Financial Peace University. He has the baby steps 1 through 7. Now, I'm not a fan of, I think 4 through 7, but 1 through 4. But steps 1 through 4, that's if someone who's starting off, your income might not where it needs to be at. One of the first things he says is have an emergency fund. That's for sure. The second thing is to pay off the debt and the snowball effect. Now, I wouldn't pay off all the debt because you can use debt as leverage. I'm talking about personal, the credit cards, whatever the case may be. And then the next thing would be have 3 to 6 months of reserves. If I was to not get a deal the next 3 months, how much money do I need to survive for those 3 to 6 months? And I think that's that. And then 4 to 7, you don't want to do those, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree with that opinion.
Dave doesn't like 4 through 7 either.
Okay, I didn't have a question, but more of a statement back to what he said, and I wanted to know if you guys thought the same thing. But I've been full-time since 2012, and you had said, how do you know when to leave your job? How do you know when to go full-time? And I was just thinking about what you said, your first deal, right? And I wanted to say, like, it's like a drug, right? So, like, my first deal, I made $7,000, right? But I was still kind of like, did I do something legal? I don't know. I was more like in shock than to go spend my check. I kept the check for like a week before I did anything with it, right? So then, like, my second deal, let's say I made like $2,000, but then my third deal, I made like 10, and so then it's a drug at this point, because I'm still working my full-time job, but I can't think of anything other than, do you want to sell a house? Do you want to sell a house? Like, everybody, if I go to McDonald's, it's like, hey, I buy houses. It's like a drug, right? You get into this drug, so you automatically kind of know when you can just kind of take off running, because then you get like this rush, because it's like, how much money can I make on the next one, and who can I help? Because you get in a position to where you're actually helping people, because a lot of the properties that we handle as wholesalers are distressed people, probates, someone's wife passed away, or what else? Foreclosures.
Apparently
you would be
McDonald's.
surprised. You're like taking people to the grocery store. You're like crying with them. You're like, girl, come on, I got you. Let's go beat them up. So coming from I'm not an agent. I was not in sales. I was a bookkeeper, right? And in accounting. So my perspective was sales, agents, open houses. But in the wholesaling business, a lot of the people more like, help me. You know what I mean? You don't really have to sell them. They're like, what do I need to give you for you to help me? And you're just kind of, so they really don't care. They care how much you make. That's why we do the blind HUD. But at the end of the day, you're helping people and you're making money doing it, and it becomes a drug. And then when you have like that goal, so for me, it was like, if I could make $4,000 a month, that's all I wanted, was to replace my income, my 9-to-5 income. So once I was making that, then my manager came in there and said something fly to me one day, and I was like, I quit.
I like that. I like that a lot. What she said is calling it a drug, man. It can get very addictive, like getting addicted to that hustle, getting addicted to that grind. Because, like, if you've never seen big money in your life, and then all of a sudden you get a $20,000 check, all of a sudden you get a $100,000 check, all of a sudden your bank account's not sitting in the negative anymore, you realize that there's opportunity in this world that you may have never knew of. And for me, that opportunity was big.
I had a question for skip tracing. Based on all you all's experience, what's a good hit and match rate based on the skip tracing you all do? And when you get that lead back, how much of those parameters do you exhaust? And what I mean by that, the phone numbers that come back, and then any other information, emails, social, etc.
It's not a question for me. I don't answer that one. I know Batch Skip Trace has high hit rates. That's why I partnered with them. I know Skip Genie has high hit rates. That's why I partnered with them. And if you have data, in my personal opinion, I'd exhaust it. Like, that's just what I'd do, but I don't have experience in doing it, so I'm not going to speak on it really.
So let's break down the question one more time. But what's just
So
the skip
pretty
trace?
much like, is there an industry standard? Because I've heard just in the short time I've been in it, just researching all these different skip tracing companies. Some are at 50%, some are at 70, some are at 80, but that's just the match rate. And then after that, it's like I can get a bunch of numbers, but then if those numbers are businesses or do not call, or so those leads become quality leads, so I'm not always fighting against the trace.
So there's different programs for sure. Which one you are with Batch, right?
Batch Skip Trace and Skip Genie?
Batch Skip Trace and Skip Genie, that's definitely something we're looking into before Daniel announced that. So you got programs like us personally, we use IDI for now.
Okay.
And IDI, what they say is in the 90s, right? And what someone's saying, what the hit rate is for the 93, I think is what they're saying. Do you know what Batch is?
I was told that it was in the 90s.
Yeah, it's in, I think they're saying in the 90s, but when you actually pull the details and you pull the data, with the call rooms and the call tools that we're using, in my opinion, I would not say it's not in the 90s for sure. And the second question was what? The second part of the question?
Was just how much of the information that comes back do you exhaust?
As action.
I think Daniel kind of, like, do you all do anything beyond just the calls, the email,
so we're
hidden
trying,
address?
Right. So what we're trying to do is a funnel system. The very first thing is going to be the call, right? Because everyone's a little different nowadays. In my opinion, most people are more interested in doing a text message than a call. So the little funnel system we have, it hits the call. After the call, those same amount of leads that we're pulling, so we pull a list of 20,000 leads, we skip trace it, we come back to those 20,000 leads. Those 20,000 leads go into the board room first because we want to make the initial person-to-person contact. Those 20,000 where they say don't call or do not, I'm not interested, whatever the case may be, we then give that to our SMS team. The SMS team then pulls out the text messages. Some of those deals we'll get because some people want to do text messaging versus actually calling someone or doing the phone-to-phone conversation. After that, if we get someone on the line, and for example, our very first thing to do, of course, is wholesale. If we can make that a wholesale, we can do the cash offer. Now, if the cash offer doesn't work, the second thing is because probably there's no equity, we'll do the subject to. If they're really tight on the numbers, like, no, my ARV is 100 grand, and you guys want to offer me 60,000 cash, it only needs 10 grand to work, that's not a true wholesale deal. The best thing I want to do is $90,000 cash. Now, if it's a wholesaler doing a wholesale deal, that's not going to work. But if it's a sub 2, the seller's open to doing a sub 2, you can still wholesale a sub 2 deal. But if the seller's not confident or, I don't want to loan in my name for whatever reason, which makes sense, the third step we'll do is we'll push it towards, hey, we have a sister company that's a brokerage, and we can have them as a broker. Now, the fourth thing we'll do is a lease option if they're interested in it. Have this lease option, 12-month deal, kind of like what John Jackson talked about on Propelio.
So, as far as skip tracing goes, Batch Skip Tracing is the most accessible skip tracing company that I've ever seen. I mean, if you wanted to, you could drive to their office right now in Phoenix. You could walk in. You could sit down at Evo's desk, and he's going to blow your mind for 3 hours about how he gets his data and how it's the best in the world. And you're not going to understand a damn thing he's saying. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to walk out that going, okay, now I understand why they're the best. And they're also, aligned with Propelio, aligned with, Investor Fuel, probably one of the best masterminds out there. They're aligned with us at Next Level Flipping. There's a reason why people like us are aligning ourselves with them and not with other people.
The key reason I aligned with him is because they had such a great reputation for quality data and being a good company.
Gotcha.
So I would say like some of those factors that people put on their sites, you're gonna get like their hit rate, for example, like we've used a lot of different ones. And let me just say, like I'm all batch. The rate, like you can hit 10 records
Correct.
for one address, right?
Yes.
But it really what matters is like how many people are we connecting, and we've tested them through call tools, other dialers, through different text systems and things like that. And really, what it all boils down to is like the data. And it gets really complicated when you get into it. So without going on for ever and ever and ever a million years, because I've literally spent probably an entire 2 years, like so many hours per week, just like data, like Bash is where it's at.
So I'd like to add on to that. The reason why I partnered with Batch Skip Trace and Skip Genie is while Skip Genie is a little more expensive, you do get a lot more data out of them. Like you get the potential errors, you get the owner's age, you've got, so like if you're skip tracing and the owner's 97 years old and you're not able to make a connection, well, you've got the errors there, not the errors, but the potential errors there as well, because I can start looking through the data and say that person probably died, that's why they're in pre-foreclosure. And then I can start working through that process there. So Skip Genie does give a little extra layer of data.
And then last one, do you all have a minimum follow-up number before you put that lead in a either archive it or did? Because I thought I was doing a lot at 10, and then after speaking to some people, they were like, no, you need to at least be doing 15 to 20 plus in a competitive market.
Keep going until they tell you to go away.
Gotcha.
And I'd keep going until it's sold.
Yeah. Until it's sold. Right.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Oops.
Sorry about that.
All good.
My question is on the text SMS. What do you guys use as a platform to do that? For a small volume, you guys have apparently, of course, grown quite a bit. What are the costs we should expect per text and all that?
As far as platform goes, we currently use Launch Control. We've used TextMagic in the past, especially when we were doing much less volume on SMS. What was the second part of the question?
Cost per transaction, cost per SMS. What should I pay if I'm searching for one right now? What cost is a good price for me to say, I'll do
So Launch Control is a flat fee for the month, and then we get up to 20,000 contacts that we can add, and then we can essentially text them as many times as we want, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have a cost per text. TextMagic is like 4 cents. I know there's some that you can get down to like 1.5 or something like that, but we chose to go with Launch Control because we're good friends with Aaron Pimpus, who's the owner, and it just made more sense for the amount of volume that we're going to be sending out.
Propelio should be coming out with SMS, dialer, and RVMs by second quarter of next year.
Will there be additional cost to it, or?
There will be costs for SMS and stuff like that, yeah, but it'll be included in your annual or in your monthly cost.
And I think we use Smarter Contact. We use Smarter Contact. That's what we use. I forget what it is per. Text. Might be like 1.5 cents or 2 cents or something like that. 1.5 cents a text or something.
Probably 4 cents.
Yeah.
So we tried, was it TextMagic? We tried TextMagic. I think a lot of ones that I heard that was really good is Sherpa. but I think Sherpa only allows certain individuals in certain markets. If there's so many individuals who has a subscription for Sherpa, they won't allow another one to do so. At least that's what I heard.
That is correct.
Right now. That's Sherpa. So the Sherpa,
ERPA.
You will not be able to use it here.
Can use it in a sentence. Sherpa. And then the next one, the one we use is Smarter Contacts, and I think it's the same thing along the lines as the other platforms. Is you can have so much, and after so much, I think it's 2 cents or so. Yeah.
Brian.
Do y'all scrub any lists against the do not call list?
Yes.
Doesn't Call Tools and Launch Control do that?
So through our platforms that we reach out, it scrubs against the DNC. I think, can you do that in batch in their stacker? Yeah, I think you could do that in batch. I don't really focus on that because every system we reach out, it does scrub it against the DNC, which I do think. I think that you kind of have to do through them to stick to like legal. Like you don't want to get sued.
I had a conversation with Donnie, Donnie was on the panel last night, and I was talking with him a week or two ago, and he was like, I hit everything against the DNC, and I still get hit with lawsuits on the regular, and because of that, he created a structure to help shelter him from that, but he does still run everything through the DNC, and even through doing that, I'll run it through the day before, somebody will put it on the DNC in the morning, and bam, now I've got a legal issue, so. There is that aspect of cold calling you need to be aware of.
I think the good platforms, like they said, should already scrub it through the DNC before they issue the return list.
Isn't the federal law for DNC is that you're not supposed to call more than one time a year?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer on that.
But if you have a house to sell, I can buy it from you.
Question up here at the front?
Are you going to say you quit your job?
It's like, don't you?
I just texted my boss, F you, bitch.
She gave me the desk there like this. No, my question is, if y'all wanted to share, what are some of y'all's goals for this coming up year, and what is something that y'all think that y'all could improve on, or something that that y'all can improve on this coming up year as far as goals?
So ours are very simple. We want to go slower to go faster. We tried to grow too fast in 2019. So we have a goal of 1 wholesale a week in Texas, 1 flip a month in Texas, 1 flip a month in Hawaii, 1 flip a month in Alaska, 1 flip a month in Arizona. If we do that, we'll be a $3 million company, and we'll essentially run that with 4 people.
We fired a lot of people in the past couple years.
Yeah, I think at one point in time when we were on Titanium Tuesdays, we had 74 people employed, and we're down to less than 10 people because we pay attention when we go to events where this man says, right, pay attention, but there's things happening that the market is changing. So we really slimmed down and made things simple.
You have no clue how humbling that was to hear. that the people are paying attention. So.
Come on, Jay, what's your goals?
Yeah, so I'll say for me, I would say one of the big things that Marsh and I have been talking about is definitely starting to get into rentals this year. For our whole wholesale career, people have constantly told us like, hey man, wholesaling is a hustle at the end of the day. It's kind of like a job at the end of the day, So you really need to start focusing on that passive income. And it was really hard for us, to always just kind of pass on the quick money. But now, kind of like going in towards like this later quarter of 2019 into 2020, for some reason now it's just kind of clicked in my mind, and we talked about that. So that's kind of one of the things that we want to start doing. So one of our goals is probably to acquire, I would say, a rental like every quarter this year. So we want to get our first 4 rentals this year, so we're not just always just on the wholesale hustle and bustle. Also, we have another business that, actually 2 businesses that we're launching right now. So Marsha is actually in charge of JMC Realty Group, so she's going to be spearheading that from a realtor standpoint, from a real estate agent standpoint. And then we also have another business called JMC on the Go, and that's going to actually help out a lot of investors here throughout DFW. I can't tell you just yet because we're still working on putting the website and everything together and all the content, but once it's live, we're hoping that should be live this upcoming, this quarter. So JMC on the Go, JMC Realty Group, rentals.
So everyone's at a different level, right? If you're doing a one-man show or 10-man crew or whatever the case may be at. With us, we would like to do, the goal for us is 30 contract wholesale deals a month. It's not too far off from where we're at last year. So doing 30 contracts a deal a month specific on wholesales. We already do rentals. We have a decent portfolio. We're already in the multifamily with the apartment units. We already do a lot of subject-twos to wraparounds, owner finance. That's probably our main bread and butter. I think last year we averaged about 4 sub-2 deals, and then we put them to a wrap. This year we're trying to do more like 6 to 7 a month instead of 4 a month. So really getting on that. But on the bigger side with the picture is for the team that we have on hand is start creating their portfolio and have them fully understand everyone gets sub-2 out of the deals that we get, and really giving back once, I think we hit a certain level. We would like to give back and provide value, and we're trying to create this home buying home selling association and turnupthehustle.com to provide value on stuff that we do that works for us at this large level with texting and the cold callings and all that good stuff. And whatever platforms and softwares we use is basically all on the website and how that works. So that's really the next step, is to give back through the association.
Greatness.
In regards to cold calling, I know we all have our different, approaches, but at the end of the day, a lot of us are familiar with scam calls and telemarketers, and that initial opening statement, what should that sound like? I mean, the minute you say, "Hi, my name is blah, blah, blah," you're like, "Oh, I don't know you, what do you want?"
Hi, I'm RJ Bates. I want to buy your house.
So I like for people to call them by name. Hi, I'm looking for Joe Smith, and that's it. And the reason why is because you're gonna find out really quick. There could be a neighbor whose cat is in your tree, whatever it might be. But that initial statement, you can do your introduction, but you want to sound like you're calling with a purpose, because you are. And if somebody calls me and they're like, "Hey, is this Cassie?" I'll be like, "Yeah, what's up?" Or, "Hey, I'm looking for Cassie or Cassandra." Usually if people say Cassandra, I know they're calling about a listing, because that's my real name, so that's on my license. Or if they say Cassia, I know it's Ryan. But I just literally, I don't overcomplicate it on that. Have a script. You want to hit a mark, but really what's most important is everything is 80% of everything you do is psychology based. So if you can connect with them instantly, that's why I like that method. Not, "Hey, it's RJ. Let me buy your house."
So John Martinez has cold calling scripts for free on Facebook, and I adamantly believe he's the #1 sales trainer in real estate investing. So look that up, and then also realize that we're cold calling to not sell something. We're cold calling to buy something, and it's because we have data that shows that they have a reason why they would want to sell their house. So you're not calling to even buy something, you're calling to solve their problem. And so, yes, you're going to have people that initially are going to have that negative response, and that's because they're not ready to receive help yet. And so just keep going, and eventually they'll realize that you're just there to help.
That's why I like that friendly approach. "Hey, is this Joe?"
Yeah, I think tone has a lot to do with it, calling them by their first names. One of the things is it could be a science behind it on how all this works. On top of John Martinez, there's TTP with Brent Daniels. Yeah, Brent Daniels and TTP is talk to people. He has a script that we use and we implemented. One of the things is the word sorry. A lot of people want to start off the phone call, "Hey, sorry to bother you." The word sorry is negative in its format. When someone says the word sorry, "Hey, my name is Mike, sorry to bother you," that already says, "Oh man, what do you want?" Right? Versus you spin it to a positive word, which is "thank you." "Hey, my name is Mike, thanks for answering. we're calling about the house on 123 Main Street, see if you have any interest in selling it. That's pretty simple as that. So we implement Brent Daniels with the TTP. We use positive words, so we get straight to the point, and of course by first name.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, he hit it right. He hit it right on the money. I mean, yeah. I mean, you don't want to start the introduction with negative. You want to start the introduction with positive. And just let them know, what the goal is. I mean, and if they're open to it, they're open to it. If they're not, okay, thank you for your time. Is it okay if I follow up with you at a later date? Maybe I can assist then. Follow up with them.
So I'll tell a funny story about Brent Daniels. So we go to Phoenix with Dutch, and Dutch Jackson, for y'all that don't know, he does
D4D.
he does the D4D album. He does rap songs about real estate investing. Okay, so Brent Daniels gets a song made about TTP, and so I come back and Dutch makes it look all awesome on the video, and I show it to my son, and my son looks at it and he's like, "Man, that's so cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm holding the camera and doing this, Yeah, I was showing him, like, I videoed that part, And he's like, "Oh, cool, Dad, And so then I'm like, "Okay, go take a shower." I hear my son in the shower singing TTP, gotta talk to people, over and over and over.
It was like, TTP, gotta talk to me.
You gotta pick up the phone and talk to people.
That TTP and Dutch, man. Dutch, shout out to Dutch. I wish he was here. I hit him up, which was here.
He had some come up. He was going to come, yes.
But another good thing is that talking to people, that stuff can be tough, right? It can be real tough. So we do, or not me, but Manny Cash, he's one of the guys on my team. He does an actual live webinar every Friday at 6:30 where he's actually calling people on, so you can see it's not a scripted. There's no, hey, the next lead is 1, 2, 3. You won't say the street because we're doing a deal, right? But he'll say 1, 2, 3, and you'll be on a speakerphone actually doing a full-blown conversation on how he does it. And Manny is the one that runs the boiler room. He's also the one that's in charge of the 10 VAs who are making all the phone calls. So you can always log on to that on Turn Up the Hustle. But when it comes to Dutch, and Dutch is out there, if you guys don't know, we went to Wholesaling where Daniel's up there on Wholesaling, and we took our team up there, and we had this Airbnb, and Dutch came over, and he just comes up with these catchy songs. So we're Home Buying, Home Selling, and he came over, and we have a rap song. It's called what is it? Home Buying, Home Selling. We're buying, who's selling? So that's our rap song. So shout out to Dutch if you're watching.
Y'all forgot about the ARV song.
Yeah, he's got some new ones coming out.
Dude, it's so funny. So Dutch is doing acquisitions and dispositions with us now, right?
Oh, sweet.
I guess that's a pretty big announcement. But so it's funny because he'll literally be in the office with us. And when he says, "What's the ARV?" I mean, when he says it, dude, it sounds like he's rapping it. And I'm like, I feel like it sounds like you're about to break out in full-on rap. So go ahead, man.
So this is a little off the topic, but so with these larger investment firms like OfferPad, Open Door, those guys who are opening in different markets around here,
iBuyer.
how has that affected you guys? And how do you see it affecting your lists and your call lists and like?
Oh, I'm so excited for this one. This is awesome.
I'm
Okay.
sure you all hate them, but I'm
No.
See,
That's the thing. When all the fish start swimming in one direction, you swim the other direction. Okay. So when I went to a mastermind, we literally had a full-on 2-3 hour long discussion about how all of us were going to combat the iBuyers coming in. Right. This is a negative thing. They're coming in. They're overpaying. How can we compete with this? And so I had the idea. Let's figure out what their buy box is. How easy is this? I can go buy the house and just submit it on their website and they give me an offer. I sent a deal to Jay. I got to hope Jay reads his text message or responds to me, or well, what if he's busy, or what if him and Marsha are on vacation? Open Door never goes on vacation. I submit it, and 24 hours later, they give me an offer. So now, at this point in time, we're literally closing on deals that fit in their buy boxes, and they're our best buyer. They overpay. They pay more than anybody. So I love them. We close on them. Okay. So we can't wholesale to them. We have to own it. But what I do now is
wholesaling a lot easier.
Yeah, so we take down deals that are 1960 or newer, that are 3.2, and here in Texas, the ARV has to be less than 350,000. Some other markets they'll go up to 500,000, but here's just a note, guys, right? I've spoken to all of them. They have specifically made a decision to not buy houses more than 350,000 in Dallas Fort Worth. Okay?
Wonder why.
Wonder why.
Wonder why.
We don't need to figure it out. We just need to know that we should not buy houses that are at that price point. Okay? If they're not doing it, I'm not doing it. So I only buy what they buy.
I've got some theories on all this.
I bet you do. I think I've heard them.
I've got I've intentionally kept my theories back because I don't want to end up getting shot.
Exactly.
But I've got some really solid theories on what's going on in the market right now.
Yeah.
So Open Door, OfferPad, Perch. There's a couple other ones. We submit those and we let them compete. And then I get on the phone with the representatives and I say, hey, I know you don't like to hear this, but Perch, they offered me $7,000 more. And then I get on the phone with Perch and I say, hey, Open Door matched their offer, but then they lowered their percent. So I literally made them compete against each other, and then we sell them to them.
Another thing to be said about that, like they can't match us on repairs, and then there's plenty of real estate out there. At some point in time, like we're gonna connect with buyers, so that's how you combat it. We're connecting. We're the small guys compared to like sellers. Sorry. Thanks. We're going to be able to connect with these people and solve a lot more of their problems because we're not robots. So we just really focus on that to combat that. A lot of people, like we've had wholesalers sell us a house, and like we actually have a little bit more buying power because we can turn something faster by selling. If it's being sold to an iBuyer, they're also not going to close as fast. So you see there's like a lot of issues we can solve that they can't quite solve, but you can also use them to your advantage rather than focusing on how I don't really like anything that makes me feel like I have to focus to compete with somebody else, because like RJ said, we have more businesses than just this, but our goals are very simple. I don't need to be worried about competing with iBuyers. I need to know my market. I need to know my sellers. I need to know my buyers. I need to know my business, because we don't have to do 25 transactions a day.
I just want Open Door to buy 12 houses from this year for an average profit of $30,000. Then I hit my goals. There you go.
That's our piece on that. Sorry, we.
Yeah, I haven't dealt with iBuyers yet. But that was great information.
You can stay away from it.
Are they in San Antonio yet?
Yeah, so iBuyers is not too common out in San Antonio. They have Open Doors down there. I think Perch is making their way down there, but iBuyers is not, at least in my opinion, it's not in San Antonio. When it's come to talking to sellers, there are times where, hey, Open Door offered me this. It's tough. But there are times where building a rapport with the seller, because it's all automated. It's all e-commerce with Open Door. There's no rapport. There's no actually going to the house, meeting the seller, understanding the frustration, understanding, oh, you lost your husband, for whatever the case may be. So there are times where we've actually submitted an offer by talking to an individual, building rapport with the seller, and they would show us, hey, this is what Open Door did. Unfortunately, we can't do this, but we can do this amount. We understand you want to go Open Door, and they actually come our way, and of course, not often, but they'll actually come versus us versus a e-commerce or the big one, the big man, whatever the case, whatever you want to call it. But building a rapport is very important. So, but what Bates is talking about and sending them deals, yeah, they buy for sure. They buy high dollar. Yeah,
exactly.
Deals if you want to.
And here's another thing to understand. This was Gary Boomershine, is a man that I just interviewed for the podcast. He's been doing this since 2001. He owns realestateinvestor.com.
That's an expensive domain.
Yeah. I mean, he bought it in 2005 for like $9.99 off of GoDaddy. He's a very smart man. So he somehow he did a poll on motivated sellers, and when they're motivated, when there's a motivating factor there, only 17% of them chose who they're going to sell their house to based on price. That's something that all of us have to wrap our head around, because we're business people. We're looking at this as dollar and cents, right? If we're going to go sell our house, I'm going to sell my house to whoever's offering me the most money, right? But these people are in a very different situation. And funny enough, Cassie and I have actually come into a couple of deals in 2019 where we found ourselves as motivated sellers. Like, I'm in a bad deal. I need to sell this, right? And it's funny to see how investors approached us and how different things mattered. Where there was people offering me more money, but this person over here was guaranteeing me that they would close, and they could prove that to me, and they had a proven track record. That was worth more to me because of my holding costs. And so sometimes price is not the most important factor. And so that's where, going to Mike's point, is that's how we can get past the iBuyers offering more money, because it's such a robotic, like you literally don't talk to anybody. You don't have to.
And like Daniel said yesterday, Donnie said yesterday, most people are only going to sell a couple houses in their lifetime. They're really going to be looking for that connection. And then two, like we had an appointment today that like we didn't run, but we had an appointment today on our team that they had submitted to Open Door, and Open Door came back and said, I won't buy this house because the amount of repairs. Open Door kind of wants to do paint and carpet, not a whole lot more than that. And if it's more than that,
they offered and went under contract and everything.
they went through the Open Door terminated on them after a 3-week long process. So now this person has to come back out and sell this house. So like some of it we're not going to have to combat. Now that lead was in Tempe, Arizona, but we have had people come to us and say, I went with Open Door and their repairs that they submitted back were super high. I didn't close with them because I didn't want to accept their repair addendum. And then we can turn around and do that. Like they're really looking to list it for like almost above what I would comp it at for ARV. We're sometimes willing to list something like, ooh, we're gonna fix up this, and this, not even necessarily a wholesale. I'll do paint and carpet. I'll leave that 1970s bathroom tile because I can in this neighborhood and this price point, and I can list it for $15,000 less than the ARV and not have to do this whole remodel. So that's like a hybrid between a flip and a wholesale, whatever you might like. We can make deals work if they have an appropriate amount of spread, if you run your numbers right. So like Open Door is not going to do that. They're going to have that. This is our system. This is our robot. They're doing the volume play, and we're not.
Okay, we've spoken way too long about this because Daniel has me scared now that I might get shot for saying too much about Open Door.
Oh no! Like I get deep in the weeds on some theories that are pretty big.
He's a conspiracy theory. Nope.
I'm live right now on. Like I'm not even close to joking. Like I've got some pretty deep theory on what's going on in the market and how it's being moved, and it involves a lot of bigger people. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to be in rooms with people that, have access to the people that are doing multiples of billions of dollars with real estate and how they're thinking, what they think. When you're playing at the 10 to 20 billion dollar level, it's a totally different thought process. And when you start being exposed to that thought process and you can adopt that thought process, you start thinking like that, and then you start exposing yourself to possibilities of what's going on that's bigger than the layman. Whenever 2010, 11, 12 was going on and hedge funds were out at the public auctions hitting MLS, just buying at 98 cents on the dollar regularly, all of us were like, ha, 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 F you, Wall Street, y'all are stupid. Y'all can't make money at 95 cents, 100 cents, 105 cents at the auction. You don't know what you're doing. Well, they were playing a different game than we were. We didn't understand the game that they were playing. And when you start understanding a game that is being played at the $50 billion level, you can start seeing where maybe things aren't what you think they are. It's a different thought process.
That about floored everyone.
It's a different thought process.
Go down the rabbit hole, yeah.
The rabbit hole looks scary.
And that's how you wrap up a wholesaling seminar right there.
How's it been for everybody?
Excellent.
Good. So one of the things that I have enjoyed the most through my career in real estate investing is getting the opportunity as someone that is not as advanced as someone else, watch people just chop it up. Like I'd go to a local REIA and there'd be that little group of the advanced people that are all over there talking to each other. And I just stand around the corner of that little group and I just listen. And I'd hear all the things that they were saying, and I was like, well, I never thought of it that way. Okay, well, that makes sense. All right, that's how I think like these people think. And I will start adopting those thought processes. So the more of those little circles that you can get around, and the bigger that circle is in regards to the echelon of the pyramid, you start learning a different thought process. And everything about what we do is a thought process. You know, we are right now being exposed to a wholesaling thought process that can open up these doors. Well, one of the biggest pivotal changes for me was I was trying to negotiate a $60 million deal on a land grab for Stonebriar. And with that opportunity, I was sitting down with a man named John Lau. John Lau started from zero and made it to $250 million. He was known as one of the most wealthy people in town and on many different levels. He owned the most expensive home in Dallas. I worked with him for probably a month and a half, trying to get that deal done. And through the process of that, the thought process that he would use was taking me to the next level. Just being around that circle was like, okay, that's how this type of person thinks about these types of things. Okay, this is how this type of person operates. Okay, if I want to get to that level, I need to shift my mindset to mimic his. So one of the things that I also learned talking to Eddie Wilson was like, if you're starting at the bottom and you are trying to go to that upper echelon, you've got to basically recreate your ego 9 times. And it is incredibly hard to recreate your ego because your ego is your concept of self. Who am I? Well, if you are starting out as like, well, I'm a blue collar worker, and you want to break through those ceilings and keep breaking through those ceilings, you have to break through and change yourself 9 times to make it to the top. And what Eddie Wilson said is most people cannot break themselves more than 3 times. It's just historically proven that it's that hard to do. And you got to really think about that. Your ego is everything that your brain thinks you are. If you could easily manipulate your ego, you could, in the drop of a dime, be a totally different new person. And so, like, whenever I'm around people that have those mindsets, the thing I try to do immediately is absorb their thought process, start thinking like they're thinking. Because when you do that, you start becoming that thought process. So.
Very effective way to put it. It's true. It's very true.
Good times. Any other questions, or are we wrapping this up for the day? We're wrapping this up for the day. Well, I do love each and every one of y'all. Thank you all there live that are watching. If you like what you are seeing, please drop some comments out there and say, hey, you know what, let's do something like this again. I'm already considering here in another 90 days doing another one on another topic like global home investing, foreclosure investing, flipping, whatever it might need to be, probates. We can talk about whatever we need to talk about, but if this was a great format, we'll do it again. Thank you, guys. Would y'all like to do some shout outs like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how you work with me? Nope.
Yeah, I have a couple of things.
All right.
So first, I would like to get a picture with everybody in the room. Can we do that?
That would be greatness.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, we're still on TV. Thank you, Mr. Producer. It's been a long time since you told me what to say. The other thing is I would love it if everyone in here would subscribe to the Titanium Vault podcast. It's something that I put a lot of time and energy and effort into bringing value to the real estate investing industry. I purely do it for the sake of giving back because real estate investing changed my life. It's why I did Titanium Tuesdays on Propelio TV. It's why I'm here today. Yes, that's it. Subscribe to that. There are the majority of the things that I spoke about the past 2 days is from me interviewing people that are much smarter and have a lot more wisdom than me, telling me things on that podcast. So if you're looking to just gain wisdom from other people, there's 106 episodes on there. Love for you guys to indulge in some of those and support us there.
I think I was number 1.
Daniel was number one. And
Daniel was the first interview.
We have got to do that over again.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
We've broken that ego down on all sides a couple times since then. Then I think that it's also really important. Like, y'all reach out to us on social. If you didn't get our numbers, if you don't have our numbers, it's a really easy way to contact us. It doesn't wake me up if I fall asleep. Yes, and you message us like, hey, thank you for doing the panel, or hey, saw you on the panel. This way we can connect when I have a question or need something or want to JV something. La la la. Mine is Cassie with just an I, CASSI, and DeHaas, DEHAAS. You should be able to find me. I look fairly like my profile picture.
So I just realized I did a terrible job of promoting myself there.
That's our group.
Yeah, that's our Facebook. The Titanium Vault, you can find it on either iTunes or Spotify. That's the best places to listen to it.
RJ Bates the third.
Hello, everybody. I'm Daniel Moore with Propelio.com. For anybody out there that would like to connect with me, you can easily find me on Facebook, Daniel Chad Moore. I've got the signature black hat. If you haven't noticed already, I wear the same pair of shorts and shirt every single day. It's just what I do. All of that to be said, follow us out there on Facebook, Propelio Group. We've got a group out there, Propelio, the page itself. Propelio.com is a software resource for you to get access to true MLS comps, unlimited websites, 5,000 leads a day across county public records. You can get a Driving for Dollars application included with that. A lot of other little bells and whistles included on that. We're kind of an ecosystem built. If you haven't seen Propelio.com/academy, it is a free resource to get further education just like you've seen here. If you haven't already heard of Next Level Flipping, definitely check out Next Level Flipping. It's a really nice mastermind online group that is great for people that are looking to bounce ideas off of like-minded individuals and advanced individuals. And just continue supporting, see everything that we've got going on here. I like everybody's attitude. I really like the community that's being built, and I love each and every one of y'all.
Again, awesome. So again, Jay Coleman here, JMC Property Group. I'm very active on social media. Again, Jay Coleman, my wife Marsha Coleman back there. Feel free to reach any of us. I think I'm kind of limited out on the friend requests. I'm at the maxed out. So, but you can definitely instant message me. I respond fairly good on that. I was also, am I talking good? Okay. Also, I was going to say, so, obviously you guys have had 2 days of wonderful information. Now it's time to actually put it in action, right? I mean, now it's action time for everybody that's here, everybody that's online. Now it's action time. So if I can be of assistance, again, Marsha and I, we do a lot of JV deals. We can be of assistance, helping you to connect all the dots. Let us know. We're here to help you be successful. Yeah, like our page on Facebook and yeah, JMC Property Group.
All right, guys, it was a pleasure being here from San Antonio. Again, my name is Michael Yanis with Home Buying Home Selling Solutions. If you guys are interested, you can request membership to our group. It's on Facebook at Home Buying Home Selling Association, where we share tips and tricks on all the things we do, from subject to wraps to Airbnbs to rentals to flips, and of course to multiple wholesale deals a month. On our website, we always are very fond of Daniel and Propelio, and Daniel knows that. We have a podcast, and Daniel was on one of the previous podcasts talking about that mind-blowing stuff was on that podcast, and then the internet feed. And the internet feed, because Daniel was giving so much, and the conspiracy came in, and the internet stopped.
It was open door.
It was open. But no, we do have
The Illuminati got you.
I'm just thinking the universe is telling me not to talk about it, because at Wholesaling Live, I started to talk about it, and as soon as I did, my mic shut down. Yeah. I was like, all right, I'm not talking about it. I'm not taking too many more hints that I need to stop talking about it.
So again, guys, Home Buying Home Selling Associations, the group on there on Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel, Home Buying Home Selling Solutions. With Propelio Academy, if you guys, by all means, Propelio Academy is where it's at for value. If you guys want interaction, again, on Mondays, we have a mindset meetings every Monday on a webinar. On Tuesdays, we do Texting Tuesdays. If you guys want to learn more about how we're doing SMS, we do a webinar on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays is the podcast. On Thursdays, we do guerrilla marketing and how we're doing different types of creative marketing to capture sellers, other investors, how to capture private money. And then on Fridays, we do actual live cold calling, talking about how we're doing call tools and what data, what systems we're using to push that out. And you can find that at the website at turnupthehustle.com. And I think my main man Frank brought back there. Is anyone interested? As a minder, like I talked about yesterday, if you need something to push yourself, what can I do? Like in our office, we have turn up the hustle. So that reminds me, hey, get back out there, go back out there, make the next call, do the next deal, turn up the hustle. You guys are interested in the shirt? I think he has limited shirts back there. You want to hang out with Frank. So, and then who is this, Daniel?
Oh, this is my wonderful daughter, Tyler. Oh, she came running up. She likes coming up here. So say hi.
Hi, everyone on YouTube, right?
Oh.
You need a mic?
She's the mic. She can tell you about conspiracy theories and what that. But no, everyone on YouTube, man, thanks for watching. This was such a great event. Thanks, Daniel and Propelio and Ryan for all the hard work. Edwin and everyone else who's a part of this who came out here on a Friday, Saturday. So huge shout out to Propelio and the Propelio Academy, guys.
Thank you. All right, guys. Let's get RJ his pick.
Ryan, did you officially shut us down online?
Thank you, Sonia, for the $1.99 super chat. I just saw it. Thank you so much.